I am Krista Reed, host of Talk Taboo to Me, along with my beautiful co-host,
Tracy Ibrahim. Hello,
Yes.
how you doing?
So excited to have our guest, Michael Czerniewski, here today. When Tracy and I were putting together this podcast, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on were people that have lifestyles that society might see as being taboo. And so we're just going to get right into it, Michael, as you have described yourself as being somebody who has a taboo lifestyle. So tell us a little bit about that and whatever you would like to share, and we'll just get right into it.
Okay. So to get this out of the way off the bat, I am also a podcast host. My podcast is called This Podcast is Uncalled For. We're coming close to 200 episodes on the podcast.
Wow.
And this is a subject I have broached on the podcast, and that is I am a practicing naturist.
Nice.
That is fascinating. What is the difference between a nudist, which is honestly, I think a lot more people are probably more familiar with that. I don't know exactly why, but the term naturist, to me at least, is semi-new. So can you tell me a little bit about the differences?
There really isn't much of a difference. The two terms are pretty much synonymous, but even within the naturist community, they would say a nudist just focuses on being naked, whereas naturists, they see there's more philosophy to it, like more of a spirituality, more of a lifestyle type deal. But I use the terms interchangeably.
Interesting. But it sounds like based upon what you're saying, they can be interchangeable, but they're not necessarily.
Correct. It also depends on where in the world you are. Nudist, you're more likely to hear in the States, whereas internationally, you'll hear the term naturist used more.
Well, that helps because I personally did not know the difference, but it sounds like it's more of a lifestyle that embraces not just nudity. There's nudity plus other stuff. I'm sure you're going to tell us all about that. How did you even first become interested in naturism?
Well, it all starts with I just love being naked as much as possible. And I joined my nudist club about 2 decades ago, and I'm currently on the board of directors for this club, and I just do not see myself giving up on that. Obviously, I'm clothed because I got stuff to do today and everything. So, we still wear clothes in everyday life, but when the saying is clothed when practical, nude when possible.
That makes sense.
That makes total sense. And when you said that you had been doing this for a couple decades, the first thing that popped into my mind is I can imagine that people want to get into this lifestyle now. It's got to be, I'm not going to say maybe easy, but definitely easier because of the internet and everything. But a few decades ago, obviously we still had the internet, but how in the world did you find the community nowhere near what it is today in terms of just access to people?
Right. Well, we had early versions of the internet 2 decades ago. Plus, the college I went to, University of Missouri, Kansas City, Go Roos, they had a program at the time called Communiversity, which sadly is no longer a thing. But they offered community classes for like $10 that you could take for non-credits. And one of them happened to be on naturism, and I tried to sign up for the class twice. Both times, for some reason, had to miss out. But ultimately, that I'll just show up to events, and that's how I got started.
I think that's fascinating. It makes a lot of sense that you joined in college and you really found out about it in college. I was thinking about my own experience, and I was like, I almost joined a parachute club. That's a very different club than the club that you got involved in. But what was your first, I'll say, naturist experience like? Emotionally, socially, all the above?
Well, it was March 17, St. Patrick's Day, and it was the monthly swim event that our club runs. So we do swim every third Friday of the month, with the exceptions of December, because Christmas, and July, and that's because we do something a little more involved, like a full-blown festival in July when the weather's really nice for this. We rent an indoor pool, and it's the same pool we've rented now for well over 2 decades as a club. and just went in, got naked, and got into the swimming pool with other naked people, and just had a great time with it.
That's pretty awesome. It sounds like it was like it's like a experience, and these people are doing it over and over. That's it. And so I'm kind of interested. You were talking about in July there's like a bigger festival kind of situation. I'm wondering, are there like common beginner mistakes that people would make at something like a naturist resort or like at a festival of naturists or a public event? Are there things that people may do that are what one would consider a mistake or like a don't do that here? There it is.
That makes sense.
Makes
sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel just I'm such a curious person at all. Like I wouldn't gawk, but I do worry that if I would do something, because I was kind of sharing with you before we started recording that I have some clients who are involved in this, and honestly, it sounds like a super liberating experience. And I was like, I wouldn't mind trying it. Try anything once, right? Try anything once. And I'm such a curious person that I would be afraid that people are thinking I'm staring, when in reality, I would just, I don't know. I think just the human body is so unique and fabulous that I would be a little nervous about that. But also, there's a part of me that would want to wear sunglasses and so nobody would see my eyes and where they're darting.
Sunglasses are perfectly fine.
Well, that's good.
The darkest lenses.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Of course, being a bald man, hats are fine too.
Hats are also fine. It's okay not to sunburn.
Right.
That makes
And I do sunburn easy since you bring that up. So that is not fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a real question. This is so silly, but is sunscreen basically like the official sponsor of you guys?
I know. Have you tapped into that market? Because this is brilliant.
Some groups have, I believe, and it is, sunscreen is very much a part of nature's culture. So
Yeah. Now, what would, for maybe not just beginners, but maybe even people who are interested in this, or people who are just listening and they have no idea about this, like, what would surprise people, do you think, the most, or just surprise people in general about naturist communities?
So another thing I didn't bring up earlier, but I'll go and bring up, if they are non-sexual in nature. Try to have sex at one of these clubs and you'll get shut down really damn quick. Yeah, because that behavior belongs in a bedroom. All right, it did not belong at a club or a nude beach or anything like that. So,
or maybe
I can
like
imagine that there's probably. I would imagine that in a community like this, that something like rules is probably. I don't know if they're like more strictly enforced, but there's a part of me that just thinks that even without clothes, I could see there being more rules, if any of that makes any sense.
Yeah, there are the rules. Like I said, we already mentioned a lot of them. A big one is if you're going to sit somewhere naked, put a towel down first so that you're not staining the furniture and stuff.
That makes sense.
The littlest things I wouldn't think about.
I wouldn't have thought of these either. No, that makes sense. Interesting.
I mean, obviously, I would know, like, don't stare, don't gawk at people.
Yeah.
But, like, having something to put down to lay on the furniture, I wouldn't think about that until, like, I was in the moment, like, oh, I don't want to sit on this spot where naked Sarah's butt just touched. Like, I could see myself being like, I love that you have already thought about that. And out of curiosity, what are some other rules that maybe us outsiders wouldn't necessarily think of, but it's not only does it keep you safe on a sexual level, but it keeps you safe, like, I mean, clearly on a germ or contamination level.
So on the sexual level, just be aware of everyone's behavior. If someone is acting inappropriately, let someone in charge know. So in the case of my club, it'd be someone on the board, most likely. Okay, what else? Yeah, obviously sell a towel. Shower, if there's shower facilities at the place, and most of these places will have shower facilities, use them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so there's good like sense of you're not the only one here, and be courteous to all of the other people.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. That makes sense. I am curious, in naturism, do you find that there's a challenge to beauty standards, or are there attractiveness hierarchies that exist in the rest of the world where they're like, oh, you're too this or not enough of that?
That is put aside in the naturist community. Everyone's just there on a equal footing. It doesn't matter if you're attractive or not. We're all human.
I
So,
like that.
too. So I guess what interests you in joining and becoming a part of this community to begin with?
no, that is a great question. Uh, obviously, obviously, you have to enjoy being naked.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of people. Unfortunately, I don't who I would say are attractive. I don't think they would come to a naturist event for one reason or another. Maybe because they feel that they're not attractive enough to come to an event, or because they've been indoctrinated to believe that the body is immoral, or
Yes.
or they just only, or yeah, I've heard the opposites too. Only ugly people like to get naked in these places, or I'm too, I might be attractive, but I feel like I'm too ugly. So it's a complex question.
How old were you when you realized this was something you wanted to explore?
Starting by my teens, I felt, yeah, this is something I want to explore when I get older. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I actually started going to events and everything.
Hmm. Interesting.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, you're the third person I've met in my life who happens to enjoy being naked and live that lifestyle. Now I want to go back in time and ask those people, are you a naturist or a nudist? I didn't know there was a difference or that the other option existed, but
Mhm.
I used to go to my friend's house and his father just enjoyed being naked. And so he would go, he would go to nudist resorts and things, but I would come over and he'd be baking and I'd be like a little bit shocked because he'd be naked. And then I would be like, oh, after the first time, I was like, got it. Your dad does that. All right. Not a problem. Now I'm used to it, whatever. I'm curious, in the naturist community, is it all adults or is it like I'm assuming that, like, are there events you can bring your family, things of that nature?
By default, naturist events are family-friendly events.
Okay,
Yeah, once in a while you'll see children at events, because their parents will take them and everything.
nice. I have a friend who, yeah, she brought her son to a beach and she's like, I'm gonna get naked. Are you okay with that? He's like, sure. And he's like, can I get naked? She's like, sure. And they hung out at the beach. And I was like, that's really cool that,
Mhm.
he wanted to be part of that. And he had an option. So I was just trying to wonder if that was, you can like make it a family affair kind of situation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I bet that's got to be such a controversial thing because, especially like, we're in such a culture of, man, I'm just going to be real. We're such a culture of like fear of pedophilia. And I
Mhm.
can only imagine how many people would say, oh, that's clearly like a place for people to offend or trap kids or something like that. But I think if you flip it on the other side, which is what you guys are really doing, is just saying we all have a body. We don't have to be we don't have to be weird about it.
Yeah, like reducing shame really about
Yeah.
bodies, which I think there's so much shame around bodies. Like you like hide and
Mhm.
like, even just I have to throw it out there, even just nipples. Like it's okay for
Yeah.
boys to show nipples, but girls can't show nipples. Like they're the same nipples, but for some reason there's so much
Mhm.
societal weirdness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much pressure, so much pressure. And like even me saying, and this is, I think, more of a question for people that are curious about, if there is anything not so great. I'll just say pedophilia type stuff going on. I could see people feeling pretty alarmed by this or whatever. Is there like a not like a vetting system, but is there a system to make sure that these people have well intention before they join the community?
Well, I can't speak for every club, but I will speak for my club. And yes,
Yeah.
we do background checks on anyone that wants to join. Make sure they don't have a criminal record, and it's especially the case with sex offenders and child offenders. I work in a job where I go through a bunch of background checks anyway because I work with kids, so I know all too well the need for that process and all that. So it's really no difference in a nature's community because we want to make sure everyone is safe and everyone can recreate safely. Hence the no cameras rule.
Yeah. And although I would imagine in reality, more people than not who are joining these communities are very safe, well-meaning, well-intended, genuinely good people. But because of the misconceptions, and I love how you mentioned like the indoctrination, y'all get a pretty bad rap. You do.
Yeah.
Yep. We
and
really.
It's so unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll say they'll look at they'll use the Bible, and this is one of the many times that I disagree with certain interpretations of the Bible. They'll say, well, in Genesis, Adam and Eve were naked and they sinned, and God gave them clothes. Well, God also created them naked. So
yeah,
there you go. They weren't wearing like a, 3-piece suit and a prom dress.
Yeah.
Shocking, apparently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They sinned because they disobeyed God by eating from the tree, and they felt shame from doing that. They weren't necessarily ashamed of their bodies,
Yeah, they sinned because they ate an apple from like the forbidden tree, and they were convinced by the serpent and everything. It had nothing to do with the fact that their genitals were exposed.
Right.
It's so interesting how people can twist things.
Yeah, and I came out of a couple of Christian traditions. I was raised Roman Catholic, and I was LDS for a time too. And in the LDS church, if you go through the temple, they force you to wear special underwear. So this is the Holy Mormon underwear that they talk so much about. And they say, well, it's because that's the type of outfit that Adam and Eve were given when they left the garden.
Interesting. I've actually done a lot of therapy around people who have body shame because of the church garment. Because basically you're saying hide your body.
Right. And by the way, I left the church before I even ever went through the temple. So,
hey, there you go. So interesting.
Yeah. Us talking about bodies and everything, I'm wondering, do you believe that being a part of a naturist community can actually help reduce the shame, or do you feel like it might pressure people into discomfort?
Well, the philosophy of naturists lean more towards body acceptance, accepting your body as it is. Now, will some take it to mean I have to work out more? Probably, but it really is just about being yourself and being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to disclose a little bit. I'm somebody that I suffer from body dysmorphic disorder. And I have had it since I was 17. So I've had it for a very long time. I'm doing very well. I'm in the stage of recovery. And I've been told by people who are naturists that this would be a huge exposure for me to go out and do something like this, where I'm feeling and fearing that might actually derail me. And so I'm just curious, have you known anybody in your community who has joined by means of working on themselves, not only just spiritually, but mentally as well?
That's definitely a possibility. Everyone has their own reasons for getting started and everything. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's a reason to get started.
I can only imagine how that could, I'm just thinking in terms of not just me, but anybody with EDD, how that could be, throwing into a situation that like flood their emotions, but at the same time, seeing how at the end of the day, nobody is judging them or caring about their body the way that they are.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's all out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that has to do with not being naked. So thinking about like modern fashion, do you think it's like modern fashion, self-expression, or is it more social pressure? And like, do you think clothes in general help us express ourselves, or do you think maybe it's more about hiding yourself?
Probably a little bit of both. I am not a fashion-minded person at all. So my idea of fashion is t-shirts and just being comfortable.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I work from home, so I'm usually in pajama pants and a
Mhm.
t-shirt. 'Cause, yeah, everything else sounds really uncomfortable.
Now, Tracy knows I am quite the fashionista. I do love really, really fun, outlandish clothes. And as somebody that has struggled with her body, also knows that they can become, and they do become, a camouflage, which is also why, I don't know, Tracy, do you want to go to a naturist lake with me?
No,
Okay, great. Next time we see each other.
not
We will be
particularly
in
at this moment.
Washington this summer. Let's go find something.
That being said, I probably will. Want is a different question. Will, yes.
Mhm.
I will try anything once. It's
Yeah.
not like in my soul, like it's not like my thing that I'm like, I just have to run out and do it, but I'm with you in that I would try it.
You know, I kind of feel like it's one of those things where, they say to just rip off the Band-Aid and do it, and, maybe it'll just kind of feel better. I can only imagine that, for you, Michael, the very first time you did it, I bet that it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe it wasn't a rip off the Band-Aid situation and you just feel better. I don't know. I think I'm just kind of speaking out of turn, but I guess wasn't like that. Whereas like maybe there were a little bit of nerves, maybe there were a little bit of anxieties, but the second you do it, you were like, I love this.
That is common for first-time naturists from
Yeah.
my research on it. For me personally, yeah, I was a little nervous at first, but it went away very quickly.
That's amazing. I was talking to somebody, actually one of my clients who loves to be naked, but has not fully embraced the lifestyle. They had just mentioned going to a nudist beach and just taking off all the clothes and was just like, oh, like an epiphany happened. It's like, I want to be naked as much as possible. I was like, oh, that's amazing. They went there kind of wanting to try it and then just like, how often can I be here doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And I wonder, like with naturists, are there ever any situations, and I can't remember the cute little saying that you had about clothes and nudity, but what are some situations where even naturists think, yeah, we need clothes for this?
Pretty much anything that's, well, going to work, obviously you need clothes for that, unless you are lucky enough to work in a place where you can be naked, which is few and far between, unfortunately. So yeah, going to work, everyday things like going to get groceries and going and hang out at restaurants or anything. So those are situations where clothes are mandated and everything. And also, again, personal comfort comes into play as well.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. I always kind of wanted to laugh when it says no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Exactly.
And I'm like, so you don't have to wear pants?
You don't. It's unnecessary.
I just wanted to say that those times I'm like, I feel like somebody could walk in without pants and be like, I have the shoes
Tracy,
and the shirt.
there are so many videos, like when we're done, I'm going to have to send you, there are so many videos of people walking into a fast food restaurant, like adult men, and just, they're being silly, obviously, they're being silly, but with just shirts and shoes, and they're getting yelled at, and they're like, I don't see the problem. Like, you don't require pants.
Following the
That's
written
funny.
law of your store. Interesting.
That's funny.
Interesting. So, would you say that, like, there are any activities that somebody who is completely naked should never do? Like, and why? Anything that you can think of that in your experience?
From my experience, I've heard the joke, don't make bacon naked, but
Okay, nope, that's fair. Yep. So, don't fry greasy items.
having played American football, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Wow, I can see that as well.
Yeah, do not try to play football naked. All right.
That's fun.
You
Yeah.
have,
Emphasize that.
you
Not
have
safe.
you have the pads for a reason, so yeah.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah. So any of the sport, could you play soccer?
You could play soccer naked, but it'd be difficult to find which team's which.
That is also, that makes sense.
That
Yeah.
makes me think of what sports are you able to do naked?
Yeah,
I think
now that's what I'm-
baseball would be tricky.
Baseball any team sport would be tricky, to be completely honest. That said,
I mean, wrestling, you get pinched. You get pinched in wrestling, though.
but wrestling is a traditional Olympic sport. And of course, the Olympics, the ancient Olympics were done naked. Also men only. So, but
That is
that's it.
actually one of my facts that I have listed, ironically enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Isn't
I
that
was
cool?
just thinking like snowboarding and snow skiing just because it's too
That'd be
cold.
too cold. That would be too cold. On the one sport that is popular in nature's communities is volleyball.
That makes sense.
In fact, I know of a couple of nudist resorts that do annual volleyball tournaments where you have to be nude to participate in
Oh
everything.
yeah.
So,
Okay, that makes sense.
swimming, of course, is well,
That makes sense.
it just makes sense to swim naked.
You're damn near almost naked anyways. Like, does it matter?
Hmm.
Does
That's
it matter?
fair.
You know, I gotta tell you something. So there's a reason why I specifically wanted this question asked. Like, what are things that people shouldn't do
Mhm.
when they're naked? So I'm a really big Seinfeld fan, and I don't know if either one of you watched
Yep.
Seinfeld.
I think I know which episode you're talking about. I personally don't like Seinfeld at all,
That's
but
fine.
I am familiar with the one episode where Jerry had a nudist girlfriend, and she was talking about good naked versus bad naked. Women, it's good naked because the female body is easier to look at, I think.
Mhm.
Whereas guys, that's bad naked, and because we're more. The excuse was we're more utilitarian and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah, you're right. They definitely take it to a pretty interesting and kind of a shameful level for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of particularly when Jerry Seinfeld is walking around in his apartment naked and his girlfriend's right there. And she's
Mhm.
like, "What are you doing?" And he has a belt sander. And he's just like, "No." She's like, "No, things are shaking that I don't need to see shake." That's how I think about that. And I think about what are things that people just shouldn't.
Mhm.
I don't know anybody that's walking around naked doing a belt sander, but you know what?
Some
If you
people do.
are-
Some people do.
Okay, if you are, do it anyways, because who cares? And if you have a girlfriend that's saying that's bad naked, we'll leave her.
Yeah.
No, we don't need that negative energy here.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I get what you mean. I love that you already mentioned. So one of the things that we do with these podcasts is we also talk about just taboo facts about like the topic that we're talking about. And one of them was that in ancient Olympic times in ancient Greece, they would compete nude. But
Mhm.
then I also found that the word gymnasium actually comes from a Greek word that means nakedness.
Yep. Gymnos. I don't speak Greek, but I do know the that particular word. Gymnos is the word that means naked in Greek.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So something else I found, and this just made me think of indoctrination and shame and so many different things, is that apparently even in like Victorian era, people would cover table legs
Hmm.
because even table legs were too revealing. And
Right.
Wow.
could we be more prude?
Seriously, though. Seriously.
Unbelievable. Had you heard of that one before, Michael?
I actually have. Yeah, that's
Oh
weird to
my
me
God.
too. Yeah.
Now I'm curious, what are some that you have heard that you just think, wow, we have as a culture, it's like we have really grown and changed.
Hmm. Yeah. That's a big one. Well, believe it or not, early in the 20th century, even men could not be topless. They had to fight for that right before. I think it was in the
Wow.
30s. Yeah. And
Really? I had not heard that one.
yeah.
What was their
No, I
argument? Why couldn't they wear shirts? Or like no shirts?
Why could they? Prudishness, because this would have been also Victorian times and all that. So,
Interesting.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think the last thing I want to mention, though, is going to be a bit of a hot topic. I see us spending a lot of time on this. And I see that, Tracy, you and I have spoken about it personally. I know I've spoken about this with so many people for so long, but culturally speaking, we see this in our TV shows, our commercials, our movies, our music, that we as a society are so much more comfortable with violence
mhm.
and people dying and gore and so many horrible things than nudity. why in the world do you guys think it? And that's including social media. Like, one thing that'll always get under my skin as a clinician is you can't say the word suicide on social media. You have to say unalive, which is actually it makes something that is already stigmatized more stigmatized.
Yes.
And I'm like, if somebody is feeling like they're suicidal, gotta say it. Like, let's not minimize that person's experience. But if you were to put something sexual out there, I'm gonna give you an idea. I got blocked from Facebook for a couple weeks because I tried to put up a picture of my two boys 5-6 years ago. They were both just in like swim trunks. Well, one of my boys has really, really long hair. And so they tagged it as a topless female. So I got blocked. And I'm like, these are two young boys that I'm just putting on my family face. So I'm curious, like, what are your guys' view about the violent thing and the sexual thing?
That is a meme that's actually gone around actually in the naturist communities. You have the family they're watching TV. You have the violence. You have the people being mean to, and then the last frame is naked people. No, cover your eyes, cover your eyes. Again, it goes back to the prudishness that people are taught, especially in religion.
Yeah,
That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts, especially that they base that on hair length
Mm-hmm.
of all things. Like,
especially
they
this
didn't
day
ask
and
you.
age. Sure. Yeah, they didn't care. They didn't
They
care
didn't look
because
into it.
they called it child pornography.
Wild.
Yeah, but if I were to share a video that is very violent, like right now, one of the movies that is, I don't know when it's coming out, maybe next month, is literally called Faces of Death. You could put those trailers, which are very violent, by the way, on social media, but I can't put a picture of my two boys in swimsuits on Facebook because they're viewing that as child pornography when it is not. It makes no sense. I've only been to Europe one time, and I remember watching on European TV, they had a topless female on a commercial. I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God, they just had on a family network woman with her boobs hanging out. And I was like, what? And then you get over here and it's like, nope, we better have high shirts and everything. Like, it just absolutely is so mind boggling how we as a society just the way we have villainized sexuality.
Or more accurately, sexualized nudity. France and Germany are really the cradle of modern naturism. In Germany, you'll see the initials FKK, Freikörperkultur, free body culture. That's their nude beaches and everything. I think it's generally much more acceptable in continental Europe than most other places, and probably for a number of reasons, but they are definitely much more comfortable with the human body and haven't internalized that taboo that is here in the States, especially.
Yeah, I noticed
so
that
interesting.
too.
Like, the places you mentioned, they also have high levels of religion and faith and so forth. Like, I'm so curious what your perspective is why are we so much more ingrained in that belief, even though a lot of like the faith in the religion is very similar in these European countries?
Right. Oh, that is a great question. I wish I had a good answer for that. Maybe it's just a brand of Christianity that's being preached. As I mentioned, France and Ireland, those are very Catholic countries. Even though, I guess in recent years they've suddenly moved away from religion, but they're still very much Catholicism played a big role in those countries. Germany, of course, that's the home of the Protestant movement as well. But again, I don't think it's an extreme version like we see amongst way too many groups here in the States.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, the Pope is in Italy, but we know Italy famously has nude beaches. So I find it so fascinating how you can have a country still have this faith, but also be very open and free with bodies and it not be sexual.
Right. And in fairness, the U.S. has its fair share of nude beaches as well. We just have to keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
Because people will complain about
Yes, we'll make it a problem. I think it has a lot to do with culture too,
Yeah.
because I was in Scandinavia and going to the sauna with
Hmm.
your family naked, like that's just how you go. Everyone goes, all the genders, all the people, it's not a big deal. And then you go swimming at the lake
Hmm.
when you're done and you're still naked, because that makes sense, because you were just
Yeah.
naked in the sauna. And so I think some of it too is like culturally built in. People aren't,
Hmm.
shaming it. But, they're already hanging out naked, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Sauna cu- culture. That's a big thing. Yeah. Here in the States, yeah, you'll likely see a lot of people wearing swimsuits into the sauna and all
Yeah.
that. It just makes no sense. Um, that really should be done naked, similar with swimming. I speak Japanese, and in Japanese culture, they have the onsen. Onsen are the hot springs that everyone goes in, and it's communal nudity as well, and everything. And that's a big part of their culture.
Yeah. So it's more normalized.
Hmm.
I am curious, and I'm not going to have you name out any beaches or anything, because I do respect that those are things that should be private and kept within the communities. I am curious, do you find that there are some states that are more accepting than others? And if so, if you're comfortable sharing those, I'd love to know which ones they are.
Okay. Okay. So, oddly enough, Florida is very accepting of nudism and naturism. In fact, Pasco County, just north of Tampa, is considered the nudist capital of the United States because there are so many naturist resorts and groups just within that county and everything. Now, on the opposite side of things, unfortunately, the entire state of Arkansas is a no-go zone. That in that state specifically, social nudity is illegal. So you can't even advocate for nudity there. If I was sitting in Arkansas having this conversation with you, I could potentially get arrested. So
Are you kidding me? It's
I
that
am not
strict.
kidding. Yeah, it is that strict.
It's crazy.
Again, it's
Yeah.
a function of the brand of Christianity that is preached in this country.
Fascinating. How about Kansas? How are we doing?
Okay, so in Kansas, well, I belong to the Heartland Naturists of Kansas City, so we are a Kansas City group. So we attract people from both Kansas and Missouri to our events, and mostly it's the monthly swims and the festivals, but we're trying to branch out a little bit more. I've started going to nude yoga classes once a month, and the instructor has been to Heartland events very near us, near Leavenworth. Actually, there's a place called the Gaia Retreat Center, or Camp Gaia, as we call it. It's billed as a spiritual retreat center that is frequented by pagans, but we've gone there. Naturists have gone there as well. Almost everyone uses the beach and the lake naked, and there are other smaller nudist resorts throughout both Kansas and Missouri. The one that immediately comes to mind is Lake Eden, Edun, so nude spelled backwards, and that's just outside of Topeka.
One that I'm very familiar with.
Mhm.
I've heard some of my clients even talk about it, and they seem to really like it. How about Tracy State? How about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin's actually the headquarters of the Naturist Society in Oshkosh.
Interesting.
So,
Love that. Wisconsin.
yeah, so that's they're Oshkosh, Wisconsin, near Green Bay. They have a library there for research, such, and I'm pretty sure they have nudist beaches and nudist communities in Wisconsin as well.
Love that.
The polar plunge is very different there, I imagine.
Right,
Yeah.
and I did bring up sexualization shutting down nature's places just north of Kansas City. There's a lake, Smithville Lake, north of KC. There used to be a nude beach there, very unofficial nude beach. It's called Heartland Cove, because the Heartland Natures kind of championed it. Unfortunately, one summer it got mentioned in the pitch, the weekly. It was then weekly publication. People started posting there saying that we want to meet people there for sexual activity and everything. And someone actually got arrested just being up there, minding his own business, being a naturist and everything, and got arrested for that. So we had to shut down use of that beach for nude use. And I had heard from the president of Heartland at the time, who helped champion that beach that the rangers said, we used to like you guys keeping the beach clean and everything. As I guess they stopped cleaning the beach afterwards. And it was a nice beach too, very protected, just in a cove area and everything. Yeah, you had to park on a rural street and then hike to actually get to the beach.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah, this has been fascinating. And
Mhm.
I learned way more about naturism than honestly I was even anticipating. Michael, do you have any tidbits, anything that you would like to end on? Because, Matt, you've shared a lot of brilliant, amazing information today, but do you have anything else?
Yeah, I could add a couple more things. If you are interested in getting into naturism, just start simple and starts in the home. So just walk around the home naked, and sleeping naked is a big one. So I would recommend. So I would recommend, if you're going to get into this lifestyle, that's a good way to start. Just start at home and don't wear pajamas.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Allowing people to have baby steps. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Michael, this has been fascinating. Really, really happy to have you on here as a guest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thank you so much. And everybody have a great day.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thanks for coming on.
Mhm.